Shocking revelation, mom's alive? The homeless woman who looks just like her. The world froze for a heart-stopping instant as the unthinkable unfolded on the corner of 5th and Main. Jackson, a 20-something struggling artist, stood there, eyes wide, heart thunderous in his chest. He had a mother who disappeared without a trace more than a decade ago. But the figure huddled under the ragged blanket, worn and wild-haired, was undeniably familiar, the very same grin that lit up his childhood memories. Could it really be her? A shiver danced down his spine as he approached the woman. She looked up, squinting at the midday sun, revealing deep lines etched into her weathered face. The sun's rays caught her eyes, colors swirling in a way that sent chills through him. They were his mother's eyes, filled with the same warmth he craved. It felt like stepping into a dream where every fairy tale could somehow be true, yet reality kept poking holes in the fantasy. The crowd that gathered buzzed with murmurs. "No way! That's her!" A few gasped, clutching their throats, while others just stood there in disbelief. Jackson's heart raced while his thoughts tumbled inside his head. If she was alive, why had she vanished? Had she chosen this life? Or was something darker brewing beneath the surface? Questions shot through his mind like arrows, sharp and painful. With each step closer, the air thickened. He felt a kind of magnetic pull toward that face, the wrinkles, the laugh lines. A lump formed in his throat as he tried to piece together the puzzle of missing years. What stories lay behind those haunted eyes? What had she endured all this time? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jackson found himself just inches away, his breath hitching. The smell of dirt and old fabric surrounded her like a shroud. Was that a hint of lavender hidden underneath? It couldn't be. Memory tugged at him. "Mom," he whispered. The word felt foreign yet right. Time hung in the air. The crowd waited, caught in a moment of fragile anticipation. She blinked, then slowly, a smile crept across her face, familiar, yet twisted by pain. "Jackson," she croaked, her voice breaking like glass. Just like that, every feeling spilled out, relief mingled with confusion. An entire world awaited them, yet the shadow of doubt loomed large. Did she really remember him? Had her past buried her more deeply than he could understand? Just when hope began to flare, sharp murmurs broke through, sending chills down their spines. "I thought she was dead," a woman gasped nearby. "Something's not right," a man muttered. Eyes darted, suspicion swirling. What was the truth? Jackson's heart raced again. The mystery thickened as he took a step back, overwhelmed by the weight of the crowd and his own racing thoughts. Something was off. Would he discover just how true or not her presence was? The question loomed, suspended in the air like a ticking clock. Jackson's heart raced as disbelief fought with the rush of desperate hope. "Mom, it's really you," he reached out, trembling fingers brushing against the rough fabric of her blanket. Her skin felt like paper beneath his touch, fragile yet alive. But her smile faded as confusion creased her brows, leaving him doubting himself. "Mom, where have you been?" The words burst out before he could catch them. Instantly, a wave of gasps rippled through the crowd. He could feel their eyes, heavy with curiosity and suspicion. "Where have I been?" she echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. For a moment, the warmth in her gaze flickered, replaced by a fleeting shadow of fear. "Listen, we can go home." The words stumbled out of his mouth, but before he could finish, someone shouted from the sidelines. "She's lying. That can't be her." A man with a rugged face stepped forward, his expression twisted with anger. "You all don't know who you're dealing with." The crowd's excitement shifted to hostility. Murmurs of doubt filled the air like a storm brewing. Jackson's stomach twisted. This wasn't just a reunion. Suddenly it felt like a spectacle, a courtroom of judgments. "Get away from her," he shouted back, stepping protectively in front of his mother. Yet in the back of his mind, doubt pricked at him. Why had she really disappeared? Had she chosen this life, or was something forcing her to remain hidden? Jackson, she whimpered, and he turned to her, shocked to see tears welling in her eyes. It broke his heart, twisting an ache deep within. She was here, yet lost in another world all her own. The questions were bulleted points of agony in his mind. I don't know what's going on, Mom, he said, his voice shaking. But I want to help you to understand. She gulped, the expression of pain flooding her face like shadows consuming light. You don't, her voice trembled. You don't understand what we've been through. A sharp clang of metal against metal echoed nearby, jolting Jackson back to the moment. He turned sharply, and it was then he noticed the police car pulling up, lights flashing amid the confusion. Fear danced in the trenches of his stomach, a desperate shout breaking free in his mind. Who else was watching? The man who had shouted before raised his hands, eyes wide and frantic. I know her. I know what she has done. He cried, and Jackson's heart sank. The crowd shifted, whispers growing frantic. The energy was explosive, a swelling wave of tension threatening to crash down on them. Mom, Jackson's voice cracked as if he were a child again, afraid of losing her once more. But his question hung in the air unanswered. What had she done? And why was this stranger so intent on tearing them apart? With every moment trickling like sand through his fingers, reality hit him hard. He hadn't just found her. He stumbled into a storm where nothing was as it seemed. Chaos swirled around him as the police stepped out, their demeanor rigid and serious. Step back. One officer barked. We need to know what's going on here. Jackson felt his knees weaken. He clutched his mother's hand, the warmth grounding him. In this circus of emotions, the truth remained elusive, a fog shrouded in deceit. Could she truly be innocent, or was he grasping at a mirage of hope? The air thickened, every heartbeat echoing with the weight of impending truth. As the officers moved closer, uncertainty settled like lead in his chest. Mom, please, he pleaded, but she only stared at the ground, her silence sending a chill racing down his spine. Just then, amid shouting and chaos, a loud crash erupted from behind, a sound that drew everyone's gaze. Something darker than he imagined loomed just outside the crowd's vision. What had he actually walked into? And would the answers they sought unite them, or tear them apart forever? The world around Jackson exploded in a frenzy of motion. Eyes darted, and the laughter of children playing nearby seemed to morph into anxious cries. Uncertainty gripped his heart. What had he just uncovered? He barely registered the police officers moving in, their authority palpable. The crowd was a boiling pot ready to spill over. Ma'am, are you all right? One of the officers asked, his voice firm yet steady, directing his attention to Jackson's mother, who remained blank and trembling. Suddenly, the crowd parted with a gasp as another figure emerged. A woman, disheveled and wild-eyed, stumbled forward, her clothing tattered, with dirt smeared across her face. Jackson's breath caught in his throat. Could it be? Or was this another cruel trick of fate? Stay back, shouted the rugged man who had first accused Jackson's mother. He gestured wildly as if warding off evil spirits. You're all fools. She's not who you think she is. She's dangerous. The crowd murmured uneasily. Jackson felt sweat bead on his forehead, terror squeezing his chest. But he couldn't turn away. The newcomer's eyes were wide, darting around the crowd. When their gaze met, Jackson felt a jolt run through him. There was something eerily similar in this woman's piercing gaze, in the way her mouth twisted into a smile, haunted and lip caught between horror and hope. What's going on? Jackson's voice barely broke through the murmuring crowd, as he struggled to comprehend the chaos unfolding around him. Mom, he pleaded, losing focus on everything else. Tell me she's lying. Tell me you're still my mom. The older woman still stood frozen, her lips parted but silent. She seemed trapped in some ghostly memory. The officer turned his attention to the newcomer, readying questions, but Jackson's eyes flitted between the two women, a gnawing tug-of-war of emotion clutching at his heart. Suddenly Jackson's mother murmured, She's my sister. A wave of shock rippled through Jackson. What? No. The rugged man shouted, moving forward, desperation lacing his voice. This is a trick. You're all being led by a facade. Jackson felt a powerful anger surge within him. You don't know anything. She's been missing. You don't understand. Their angry standoff momentarily paused as the police moved to separate them. An officer grabbed Jackson's arm, gently but firmly. "Calm down, son. We need order here." But Jackson wasn't listening. His heart raced, pounding like a war drum. "Mom, please. This is your chance to explain." The voices around him blurred into a chaotic orchestra, drowning out his thoughts. Jackson's world spiraled, caught between the mother he longed to embrace and the striking resemblance in the woman before him. The second woman stepped closer, her face drawn and weary. "I saw you too, Anna. I thought you were dead," she breathed, voice cracked and hoarse. "How did they find you? Did they hurt you too?" Jackson couldn't piece together the fragments quick enough. An identity split between two women, each claiming some kind of truth. His mother's eyes shifted nervously back to him. "They were chasing. I had to leave everything behind." As the crowd leaned in, utterly captivated, Jackson felt a chill wash over him. What had his mother been running from? What did they feel obligated to hide? Suddenly, the police radio crackled to life. "Officers near the park. We have a situation escalating, possible connections to an ongoing investigation." The crowd gasped, the looming shadow of an unseen threat bearing down on them. Jackson's heart raced. Questions lurked in the dim light of revelation. "Mom, what do you know? What have you been hiding?" Before she could answer, the sound of sirens filled the air, loud and demanding, drowning out every question swirling in Jackson's mind. What secrets were buried beneath the surface of his mother's absence? What had been left undone? As the chaos spiraled, a figure slipped into the fringes of the crowd. Someone with familiar anger behind their eyes. And as if the universe was taunting him, Jackson felt the burden of an answer. Slowly inching closer, a truth that had yet to be unveiled, lurking in the shadows of all they'd lost. What was the connection that would either unite or sever them forever? The sirens cut through the tension like a knife, the red and blue lights flickering against the faces in the crowd, casting ominous shadows. Jackson's heart raced, feeling the electric pulse of anxiety in every nerve. He could hear his own breathing quicken, shallow and frantic, as fear slithered through him. The world became a blur of colors and shouts, focusing solely on his mother and this stranger before him, two women tied together by blood, yet worlds apart. The rugged man's voice rose above the din. "You're all idiots for believing this. She's not who you think." His wild gestures were almost theatrical, but in the tense atmosphere they felt all too real. Jackson's anger flared. He wanted to scream, to make everyone understand the complexity of the situation, but his words betrayed him, jumbled and choked. "Enough!" shouted one of the officers, trying to restore order. He pushed through the crowd, directing people back. There was an urgency in the air, as if they were on the verge of uncovering something much darker than a simple family reunion. Jackson's eyes darted to the woman who claimed to be his mother's sister. "What do you know?" he managed to ask, desperation coating his voice. The woman looked at him, her expression a mixture of fear and determination. "I know they were hunting us. A group dangerous. I barely escaped." Her eyes darted to the man who had first intervened, full of accusation. "Why?" Jackson pressed. "Why would anyone want to hurt you?" "Because of what we know," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the chaos. "What we saw." "They stop." The officer's voice boomed, capturing everyone's attention. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us." "No," Jackson shouted. "You have to let her speak. They may be after her." The police were already moving in, their authority forcing the wild-eyed woman backward. Jackson felt a surge of anguish flood through him, a sense of helplessness as he watched. He didn't want to lose her chance to reveal whatever truth she was holding. Before he could voice his frustrations, another figure stepped into the light, his best friend, Miles. Panic flickered across Miles' face as he caught Jackson's eye. Jackson knew Miles had been close to his family and might have some insight, or at least shared the weight of his confusion. He felt his heart pound harder as a sense of solidarity surged. "What is happening, man?" Miles asked breathlessly, shoving through the crowd. "I heard sirens. Are you all right? Do you see her?" Jackson pointed to the ragged woman, suddenly igniting his hopes. "She's my mom's sister. She was missing too, and now." Just as he spoke, his mother's eyes met his, wide with panic. "Jackson, you need to leave. You can't be here." Her voice sliced through the noise, desperate like a lifeline thrown in turbulent waters. Before he could respond, a piercing scream erupted from the back of the crowd. Everyone turned, fear planting roots as chaos unfurled once more. A shadowy figure darted through the throngs of people, weaving deftly intent on reaching the front. "Stop! It's them!" the rugged man screamed, pointing to the incoming figure, his voice dripping with conviction. Jackson's pulse quickened. Who was this new player in this anxiety-filled theater? His mother grabbed his wrist violently, pulling him closer. "Run!" she yelled, but Jackson was rooted to the spot, his eyes locked on the approaching figure, who was only steps away. A flash of recognition hit him like a freight train. Everything inside him twisted. Was it possible? Could it really be? "Mom! Behind you!" he shouted, but it was too late. In the intense swirl of uncertainty, the next revelation of what lay ahead was about to plunge them into a whirlwind that few could survive. But before Jackson could brace himself for the impact of truth, the figure laughed, a chilling sound that froze the crowd into silence. What dark truths were about to be unearthed, and how far would Jackson go to protect the ones he loved? The laughter sliced through the tension, echoing louder than the chaos around them. Jackson felt his stomach drop. The face of the approaching figure became clearer, and his heart raced not with fear, but disbelief. It was her. The woman looked identical to his mother, right down to the way her hair fell in soft waves around her face. Yet this person exuded an aura of raw danger that sent chills racing down his spine. "Mom!" Jackson breathed, hardly able to believe his eyes. But even amidst the shock, he sensed the undercurrent of dread in the woman who claimed to be his aunt. Her expression shifted rapidly from fear to something more sinister, darkening the air around them. "Jackson, don't!" his real mother shouted, panic lacing her tone. "Get back! She isn't who you think she is." The crowd was a living entity, a mix of horrified gasps and murmured speculations. Jackson couldn't tear himself away from the spectacle, his gaze anchored to the lookalike, who wore a knowing grin. "I've missed you, dear," the woman called out with an unsettling sweetness. "How lovely of you to gather everyone for a little reunion." Her eyes flicked dangerously toward the police officers, then back to Jackson. Almost as if she was drinking in their confusion, the atmosphere shifted, thickening with an uncertain tension that sent Jackson's heart racing. His mother trembled slightly beside him, hardened resolve glowing in her eyes. "You need to trust me, Jackson. She is not your family. She is dangerous." The rugged man, cornered by fear and conviction, stepped closer, shaking visibly. "She is deceptive. It's a trap. They're after your mother," he shouted, struggling against the officers who were attempting to restrain him. Before Jackson could process the contradiction of emotions, the air shifted again, a ripple of understanding mixed with disbelief. The lookalike's smile widened, her confidence radiating as her eyes settled back on Jackson. "Oh, you'll see the truth soon enough. You can't hide your blood," she said, her tone hypnotic yet grave. Jackson felt the air condense around him, every breath saturated with fear. He turned towards Miles, who was paralyzed, mouth agape. What is happening? "Jackson, get her out of here. Run!" his mother insisted, pushing him urgently. But as the words tumbled from her, the crowd surged forward, pulled by unseen threads of chaos, distrust, curiosity, fear. The moment exploded around them when the first officer charged toward the lookalike, demanding answers, but she sidestepped him with an agility that shocked. "Gentlemen," she said coldly, her voice ringing with eerie authority, "you simply don't understand how deep this runs." Jackson's mind spun as she turned, her eyes meeting his, igniting something inside him. A mix of dread and hope screamed for his attention. He couldn't just let this woman walk away. She carried answers that could unravel everything. "Why were you gone?" he shouted, desperation bubbling to the surface. "What do you know about my mom?" The figure stopped, a flicker of surprise crossing her features. Then she flashed a sly grin that twisted the knife deeper. "Everything," she replied. Each syllable dripped with mockery. "But would you really like to know? Or is it easier to hide behind the lies?" With that she turned, disappearing into the gathering shadows of the crowd. Jackson's heart pounded in his chest. He had to chase after her, to grasp whatever truth lay partway between them, the maniacal laughter still ringing in his ears. "Jackson!" Miles tugged at his arm, pulling him back for a moment, but the fire of determination surged. Wait! Don't! But Jackson was already moving against the tide, pushing through tight bodies, each heartbeat synchronized with the echo of his mother's warnings. Was this woman the source of danger, or had she been wronged? Ahead, the figure melded seamlessly into the chaotic scene, an escape artist all too skilled. The police were distracted. Chaos was spiraling out of control. Jackson bit down hard on his resolve as he sprinted forward, heart in his throat. He'd never felt this kind of urgency before, but he was compelled to know what she wanted to reveal. But at what cost? He plunged deeper into the pandemonium, desperate to uncover the truth lurking just out of reach, when suddenly all lights flickered and the sirens silenced. A terrifying calm enveloped everything. What would he find? And would it be worth uncovering the secrets buried in shadows? The silence was a heavy blanket, smothering the chaos as Jackson stumbled through the crowd, each footfall echoing like a heartbeat. Faces blurred before him, caught in expressions of confusion and fear. The laughter had vanished, making way for a silence that was almost deafening. A pause as if the world was collectively holding its breath. Jackson's pulse raced, pounding in his ears. Where did she go? He thought, frantic. He was nearly blind with urgency, desperate to unearth the truth buried in this surreal nightmare. The air felt electric, charged with his every thought, each one tugging him forward. He could still feel her gaze penetrating him, tempting him with promises wrapped in shadows. He caught glimpses of dancers and revelers, a vivid world that felt miles away. The thrumming bass of the event seemed muted now. Far displaced by gravity, everything had changed. A flicker of movement among the shadows drew his eye. There! She vanished around a corner and instinct took over. Jackson dashed forward, weaving between stiff silhouettes, breath catching in his throat. Jackson! Wait! Miles's voice called again, strained but desperate. He was still back there, fighting the current of panic. But Jackson couldn't stop. He was already past the point of no return as he turned the corner. He entered a narrow alley shrouded in darkness. It was quiet aside from the distant sounds of the crowd, but something felt wrong. The alley seemed to swallow him whole, drawing him deeper into its embracing shadows. His heart thudded like a drum, an ever-present reminder to keep moving. Where are you? His voice echoed, swallowed by the night. Suddenly he heard a rustle. Jackson froze, every muscle coiling tight. A familiar silhouette stepped from the shadows, her long hair cascading like a dark veil. It was her. The woman who looked so much like his mother, yet so different. Jackson, she whispered, her voice smooth as silk but laced with threadbare tension. She leaned against the wall, observing him with a tilt of her head, a predator sizing up her prey. I've been waiting. Waiting for what? He challenged, but the fear clamped around his throat, squeezing tight. Don't play coy, darling. You know we're connected by blood, by history, by the very fabric of this chaos. Her eyes glinted with a fierce light, dangerous and magnetic. The night quivered under her words, inserting doubt deep within him. What did she really know? What had she turned away from? Was this woman his family, or his worst nightmare? You can't trust her, came his mother's voice, an echo whispering through the alley like a warning. Jackson whirled around, expecting to see her, but nothing but darkness met his gaze. His stomach knotted, fear gnawing at the edges of his resolve. Didn't you want answers? The woman continued, stepping closer, the shadows bending to her will. I can tell you everything about why your mother is not here, why she has been hiding all this time. His breath hitched, clinging to hope even as doubt clawed at his insides. Why should I believe you? Because, she said smoothly, pausing for effect, the truth may be far more shocking than you could ever imagine. They are not who they claim to be, and you, dear Jackson, hold the key to unraveling a world you never knew existed. The weight of her revelation sank in, thickening the air. Jackson's mind raced, trying to piece together the implications. What did she mean? Are you saying my mom is alive? He dared to ask, hope threading through the fear clutching his heart. A slow smile spread across her face, dark but enticing. Oh, you have no idea what's waiting for you. But you need to decide. Will you step into the shadows or turn back to the light? The alley pulsed as if the walls themselves were breathing, closing in around him. Jackson's instinct screamed to flee, yet a deeper part of him urged him forward, into the unknown. But as he stood on the precipice of everything he dared to uncover, a deafening crash echoed from the street, splintering the suffocating silence. The earth seemed to tremble beneath him, and, for a fleeting moment, the world outside surged back into focus. What force had unsettled the delicate balance? Was it an ally or an enemy come to intervene? The truth hung in the air, a tantalizing promise wrapped in danger. And just like that, Jackson's decision became unavoidable. He needed to know, but at what cost? He took a step forward, heart racing, ready to embrace whatever awaited him, the shadows whispering their secrets. The ground shook again, sending chills spiraling down Jackson's spine. He clenched his fists, torn between the woman's magnetic pull and the chaos erupting just beyond the alley. The shadows around him felt suffocating, and the air crackled with urgency. What was that? He gasped, his heart pounding like a war drum. In response, the woman shrugged, her enigmatic smile unfaltering. The world has a way of waking up when secrets are on the line. And mine? She stepped closer, her breath brushing against his cheek. It's a tick-tock away from revealing itself fully. With a sudden desperate need to assert control, Jackson backed away, forcing his mind to race. You can't just throw out these claims and expect me to follow you into the dark. His voice wavered, betraying the fear throbbing inside. What do you want from me? I want you to see. Her intensity deepened, eyes glinting like shards of glass. You're not just a bystander. You've always been a part of this. Your mother didn't hide because she was afraid she hid to protect you, protect both of you from truths too great to face. A loud crash broke through the tension, followed by yells from the street. An instinct kicked in. Jackson's senses lit up. He felt the urgency rise like smoke in his lungs. Is that why she's gone? He pressed, more to himself than to her. Partly, she replied, steady even as danger loomed outside. But there's more at play than you can imagine. The moment you unleash the truth, shadows will both envelop and illuminate your path. Lights flickered from the other side of the alley, casting spooky shadows that danced across her face, emphasizing the fire in her gaze. Jackson felt the weight of every word, the pressure mounting as he tried to process the torrent of emotion hammering at his heart. What could be so dangerous that she had to run? Those who seek the truth do not always find safety. Are you ready for that risk? She tilted her head, doubt playing across her features. I need to know. It came out as a whisper, more a plea than a statement. But I can't make reckless choices. Sometimes being reckless is the only way to survive, she replied softly, her expression shifting from cruel to compassionate in an instant. You must decide, will you face the chaos, or stay in a comfortable lie? Jackson could feel the tremors of the world around him. The echo of sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Something was coming, and it was coming fast. Enough, he shouted, frustration boiling over. You need to tell me, what do you know about my mom? I'm telling you, the words tumbled out of her, spilling with urgency. You are on the brink of a great revelation. If she is alive, it's because she has been working against something dark. As she spoke, another jolt rocked the ground. This time Jackson could sense it wasn't just the chaos above. There was an unnatural force emanating from the depths, pulling him in. He took a shaky step back, dragged between terror and curiosity. Whether you accept it or not, you have a role to play, she said, the shadows fluttering around her. You have a choice, Jackson. Stay and dig deeper into your past, or step away and leave it all behind. The alley was alive now, the air electric with tension and mystery. He stepped forward, driven by a force he could no longer resist. Tell me everything. But as hope began to flicker like a candle, another violent crash rang out, this time shaking the very foundation beneath him. A wall of dust and confusion billowed into the alley sky, and shadows collided. In the chaos stirred the haunting thought, what lay beyond this night? The answer trembled just out of reach. Jackson held his breath. Eyes locked on the woman as the darkness flickered with an ominous glow. What hidden truth awaited him, and was his world ready for the unraveling? In that moment, the decision seemed almost trivial compared to the storm looming just ahead. The dust settled slowly, swirling like ghosts around them. Jackson squinted through the haze, every instinct screaming that he should leave. Run far from this alley, far from her hazel eyes that glimmered with something between terror and dread. What is happening? He stammered, his heart roiling. The chaos outside had crescendoed into a symphony of panic, Screams, sirens, and the heavy thud of footsteps reverberated against the brick walls. She pressed her lips together, breathing shaky. The truth is coming for you, Jackson. Craves your attention. Can't you see? The ground is shaking, and we might not have much time. Panic seeped into his voice, mixing uncomfortably with the urgency of the air. The woman's beauty transformed under the creeping shadow, and realization dawned on him. Tell me what I need to do, he implored, grasping her arm hard enough to elicit a startled gasp. In that moment the world outside seemed to pause, waiting, as if holding its breath just like him. She studied him for several heartbeats, resolve flickering like those annoying fluorescent lights above. Abandon your questions about the past for now. Focus on now, on what's coming. Trust your gut, Jackson. Trust it. The ground quaked again, and Jackson stumbled. Trust? He repeated, incredulity slicing through his apprehension. In you? Yes. Her voice was sharpened by desperation, cutting through his doubt. You need to create a path through this chaos. There are forces at work here, more than both of us together can comprehend. But you must act fast. Nearly everyone you love is caught in this mess. Your mom, the truth, it's all connected. A bone-deep roar echoed from the street, like a war cry from some forgotten age. Jackson felt the weight of her words, heavy and ominous. The trees shuddered in the wind, leaves torn asunder, shrieking their last breath. He staggered backward, eyes darting toward the alley's mouth. Go. Find the box, she shouted, urgency lighting her frame. It's behind the old bakery where everything began. You must find it before they do. Who's they? What box? His voice turned ragged with incessant questions. Panic gripped him tight. But the seconds slipped away like sand through his fingers. They're coming. Her voice resonated with a fierceness that burned. In the box lies the key to your entire existence, the truth they don't want you to find. Your mother knew too much. That is why she concealed it, to protect you. Another rumble shook the earth, this time a deep, resonant sound that rolled to meet them like an unforgiving wave. Hurry, she pleaded, heart pounding. Jackson looked at her, desperate to hold on to whatever semblance of safety she offered. If I go, will you be okay? Her expression softened momentarily, before she returned to her fierce persona. You have to trust me. No thinking, just going. For once, don't question every instinct. Just act. The desperation in her voice struck him like a blow, and without further hesitation, Jackson bolted out of the alley. The city loomed before him with a surreal intensity, buildings swaying eerily as he sprinted past the scattered debris, each step threatening to plummet him into uncertainty. Jackson's mind raced with precisely what lay ahead. A cryptic box. Secrets. And his mother, alive or dead. The truth loomed larger than the night. Something exploded nearby, showering the sidewalk in dust and debris. Jackson barely dodged a brick as he rounded the corner. Racing toward the bakery, adrenaline surged through him, fear and determination intertwining. But as he neared the entrance, a figure stepped into his path. Tall, shadowed, their face obscured. The fleeting echo of a familiar laugh danced at the edges of his memory. Jackson, the figure intoned, voice wrapping around him like a familiar blanket. You shouldn't have come here. Jackson's heart sank. Had he really unearthed something he should have left buried? And behind him, the world seemed intent on collapsing around him, as another explosion rocked the night. Jackson's breath caught in his throat as he squinted into the shadows. Each second expanded into forever. The echo of the voice like a haunting melody he couldn't quite place. The figure took a step forward, and the darkness shifted just enough for him to catch a glimpse of familiar features, the sharp jawline, the way the eyes sparkled even in the gloom. Mom, he whispered, disbelief weaving through his heart. No way. This couldn't be real. Shush, she said, raising a hand, urgency layering her tone. You shouldn't be here. It's not safe. Jackson shook his head, trying to piece together fragments of truth and denial. You're alive? All this time? But before she could respond, the ground convulsed again, sending vibrations racing through his body. Dust and debris danced alarmingly around them, and he remembered the woman down the alley, urging him to move to find the box. What do you want? The familiar figure demanded, her voice sharpened like broken glass. You need to leave. Jackson's stomach twisted in knots. You're the reason I came. He stepped forward, confusion flooding his senses. What box? What did you hide? The smile that spread across her face twisted into something dark. Not everything is what it seems, Jackson. You're not ready for this. A chill slithered down his spine. Was this really her? Or a twisted reflection of what he wanted? Each beat of his heart thrummed loudly, drowning out the chaos. An explosion rang out nearby, closer than before, rattling the foundations of the bakery. Shards of glass tinged with smoke whirled in the air, glinting ominously like shattered dreams. Please, he shouted, frustration spilling over. Just tell me. Why did you hide? Why did you leave me? Her expression faltered for just a moment, and he saw something flicker in her eyes. Was it regret? Fear? I had to protect you from the truth. You have to trust me. Trust what? You faked your death. His voice cracked, anger boiling within him. You let me believe I was alone all this time. A sudden crack of thunder echoed through the chaos, and Jackson looked behind him. Figures cloaked in shadows were advancing on their position, moving through the haze like phantoms. They know you're here, she screamed, desperation etched into the lines of her face. The more you know, the more danger you bring. You have to move now. In that instant, the haunting memories rushed back, a childhood overcome by shadows, nights spent burning with unanswered questions. He had spent years seeking, only to find the one person he thought long gone standing before him. Get out! She pushed him with surprising strength, desperation propelling her. Find the box. It's your only chance. Before he could protest, she imprinted the map of the old bakery on his mind, a haunting blend of memories he'd long buried. Heart-pounding, Jackson turned to run. He heard her shout again, I'm here. I'll always be here if you need me. With each step, the ground quaked violently beneath him, sending shards of uncertainty piercing through his resolve. The darkness wasn't merely behind him. It chased him down the street, seeking to swallow him whole as questions clawed at his insides. There, hunched near the alleyway, lay the old bakery, a cracked facade, as though it awoke from slumber with secrets still waiting to be uncovered. Instinct surged deeper, making him push through the euphoria of discovery and violence surrounding him. He reached the entrance, heart racing to the tempo of the chaos outside, but the door was half broken, creaking ominously as he pulled it open. Inside, shadows danced, flickering like long-lost dreams. Dust motes floated serenely, oblivious to the storm raging beyond. As he crossed the threshold, he could feel it, a palpable tension in the air, electric and unnerving. And just beyond the threshold, a shape shifted in the darkness. What would he unearth in the belly of this skeletal bakery? Would answers be a blessing or a curse? Jackson stepped into the bakery, the musty scent of aging wood and flour wrapping around him like a heavy blanket. The echoes of chaos outside faded as he moved deeper into the shadows, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. Each step sent tingles racing down his spine, the air crackling with uncertainty. He took a deep breath, pushing past the memories that clung to the walls. His mother had once made the best pastries in this kitchen, laughter ringing through the space. Now it felt haunted, each corner cloaked in dust and silence, whispering secrets he was desperate to uncover. Where was this box? The woman had said it was here, but he couldn't see anything that resembled a clue amidst the remnants of a forgotten era. The dim light barely illuminated the remnants of cracked shelves and broken chairs, shadows looming around him like dread. Then, he saw it, a sunken trapdoor in the corner, dusty and worn. Heart-pounding, he approached, the world above feeling like a distant nightmare. With trembling hands he grasped the edges and pulled. The door creaked open, revealing darkness that swallowed the light. Jackson hesitated. Could the answers lie below? He took a deep breath, thought of his mother, and climbed down into the abyss. The air turned cool as he descended, each step echoing like a drumroll in his ears. Finally he reached the bottom. The tiny room was flooded with dim light from a single flickering bulb overhead. In the center sat an old wooden trunk, worn from time yet sturdy. He rushed forward, his heartbeat drumming in sync with the pounding in his chest. Kneeling before it, he fumbled with the rusted lock, desperate to unveil its contents. With a swift, determined shove of his shoulder, the trunk burst open, the hinges groaning in protest. Inside it was packed full, old photographs, tattered documents, and more. Each item seemed frozen in time, and yet, he could sense their weight. Jackson began to sift through carefully, his fingers trembling over the sepia-toned pictures of his mother, younger and vibrant. In moments he was captivated, lost in her smile. A flicker of hope ignited in him. But then he saw another photograph, two women, arms wrapped around each other. One was unmistakably his mother. The other bore the same haunting eyes of the woman who claimed to be his aunt. Names scribbled on the back made his heart race. Anna and Clara. Sisters. What is happening? He murmured, shaking as realization poured over him like ice water. He had stumbled into a web woven with familial ties, lies, and truths buried under layers of fear. Suddenly, the chaos outside erupted again, the sounds of sirens and angry shouts surging, shaking the walls as if trying to breach the sanctuary of the moment. He grabbed a handful of documents, hoping they would offer answers. One paper caught his eye, a vague reference to a hidden organization that sought the truth, one that threatened his family. More sounds of struggle reverberated through the air. They were drawing nearer. He could feel the urgency crawl under his skin, propelling him to act faster as he tucked the important papers into his backpack. A chilling thought gripped him. Were they chasing after him, intent on silencing the truth? He had to find his mother again. He raced back up the stairs, propelled by adrenaline, pushing through chaos like a storm. The bakery remained a sanctuary against the madness above, but it wasn't meant to last. Each step echoed back to him, urging him to hurry. Bursting through the door, he was met with a scene spiraled into chaos. The crowd had thickened. Police struggled to maintain order as the rugged man shouted accusations about his mother. Jackson's heart sank deeper. They were hunting her. "Mom!" he cried, scanning wildly for any sign of her. But the people surged like waves, all drowning in uncertainty. "Jackson!" Her voice pierced through the tumult, deceptively soft yet charged with urgency. He spotted her against the backdrop of the chaos, the desperation etched on her face, a mirror of his own fears. "Get down!" she shouted, fear cascading through her words. Jackson's heart lurched as he saw figures mounted on the edges of the crowd, shadows of uncertainty closing in on them from all sides. The weight of the ages hung thick in the air. Everyone had a secret. And in that moment, as realization flooded over him, Jackson understood. They weren't just running from the organizations, they were running from their own past, and he inherited more than just pain. He carried the survival of their truth. "Mom, I found it. I know the truth now," he shouted over the roiling noise, the fire igniting within him anew. She locked eyes with him, the spark of hope emerging amid turmoil. He reached her, determination flooding his veins. "We have to stand together. We can fight this. Together." But before she could respond, shadows surged from the crowd again. Members clothed in dark jackets, faces obscured, pushed forward, their intentions as murky as the fog rolling in from the sea behind them. No more hiding. This was the moment. Jack felt it. Truth was alive, pumping through his veins and igniting his spirit. In unity, they might just face whatever darkness awaited them. "Let us end this," he said, without hesitation. His fingers intertwined with hers, and for the first time in years, Jackson felt anchored with fierce determination. They moved through the crowd, back toward the truth, armed with hope, memories, and the audacity to reclaim their story. The world around them echoed with chaos, but they were no longer just survivors. They were warriors ready to embrace every shadow. The light within had finally awakened, and there was no turning back. Now it's up to you. Don't miss out on more incredible stories. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss our next exclusive adventure, packed with unexpected twists and fierce determination. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support what we love. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this explosive ending. And you need to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. Only true fans understand the power of sharing the journey. Don't wait even one more second to show your support.